All right, we're on to Shafter. So if you haven't noticed, they are just sprouting up out there. And so they've got all kinds of stuff going on right now. Obviously, very pro business, a lot of industrial. We got residential coming up. But I won't bore you with what I know. I'm going to actually bring up the expert. So if we can get Bob up here, that would be great.
Good morning. I'm disappointed I couldn't sell this place out. So I have to get more popular. Gosh, I look around the room and boy, it tells me how long I've been around. So Brad and I trained together at B of A back when we invented paper money. And and we both had hair, which of course we now both realize is overrated. And some of you from my banking career. Yeah, I did cascades down. So yeah. So from not from the banking world and some of my friends out here. Laura, always appreciate your support. Kevin, yeah. And Lisa back there, Debbie from MoneyWise, a lot of you from the title industry, the young bucks from Mission Bank, and then new Mama G back there, who I've known her. And as I say this a lot, I knew your dad. So I worked with your dad. So, and Billy Sue, and I had some good times at Mission. So, but then I moved on from banking and I'm from the government. So I'm here to help. I'll do my best. I'll do my best today. Over 4 years, I still can't believe I have to carry that path. I watch more what I say, and this is recorded. So I know the city council is kind of hovering, watching what we do. So I'll watch my comments, but ultimately I'll slip up. So it's great to be invited, but it's also even better to be invited back. So this is like 3 years in a row. So I did freshen up my presentation a little bit because different things are happening. And I heard your upcoming speakers, man. Don't miss those guys. Don't miss the lenders panel. And don't miss Barry Hibbard, the king of logistics. I didn't know that word until I met Barry Hibbard. And Barry has been involved with us in Shafter a little bit, and the Baker Hughes property and that kind of stuff. So show up for these guys. I mean, we can always get more intelligent. So, so Shafter now and when we'll mention some things that are happening now or could be happening. And then the when is, well, we hope it happens, or it could happen or it can happen. So some of that might be up to you. So we'll roll that. And thanks to Claudia, by the way, before I forget, for always getting me set up, even got me a parking space. And I heard she kicked somebody out. Sorry. But the older I get, the shorter I want to walk. And so I appreciate that in comfortable shoes. So we had some victories to talk about in Shafter. This is probably the biggest ones. We'll leave with that. The response time as the safest city in Kern County with only one murder in the last 6 years. And that guy was wounded and crossed over and died on our property. So our police department, he fails to accept that as a homicide in Shafter. But 40% of our police calls, police stops for last year were officer originated. There's some young officers out there who are very intent on making sure that Shafter stays the safest city in Kern County. And Chief Zimmerman's really on top of those guys. And they do that. And it's been great because safety attracts business. We know what some of the things that people didn't deserve that have happened downtown to some of those poor businesses, and that doesn't attract business. And so we've been fortunate thus far. They also keep an eye on the homeless, which to date we can name. We know their names. We know that the bigger Shafter gets, that's probably going to be continue to be sadly a problem. But the response times out to Gossamer Grove, which some people call New Shafter, which we totally don't want to happen because it is part of Shafter. It's right on the tip there of the city limits. But the response time was a little over 10 minutes, and our guys felt like that hasn't been good enough. So ultimately, our city manager, Gabriel Gonzalez, connected with Senator Melissa Hurtado, and we received, and I saw the check didn't touch it, but I saw a check for $6 million, a grant to build this, the new fire station and the new police substation. We're going to have to staff it too. So that's why we've got to sell some things and get some revenue going. But ultimately it's going to take, and that's part of it. And that you can see that Gossamer Grove Boulevard there, just to the east are the homes that are going up. So that is, it's Lennar also deeded the land to us in a moment of gratitude. Okay. I like hecklers because then I get to stretch. So anyway, that'll we're going to go modular on that. I think our guys think like that's probably, first of all, it's fastest and they like the quality. Our building department is kind of blessed the production out there. So that should be coming pretty soon. And obviously that's a big deal. Also because 7 Standard is the border between Shafter and South Shafter, or as you refer to it, Bakersfield. So yay, we have street cred because on June 22nd, 2022, we opened a Starbucks and they've been doing great. They've been really busy, great place to meet. Rick Josh, who many of you know, Countryside, he built it. He bought the land and built it. He doesn't own the Starbucks, but he does own the Taco Bell next door. So the parking, if you take one parking spot or the other, there's no real problem there. He'd like his Taco Bell to be just as busy, but Starbucks has been good. When I talk to retailers and I say, we have a Starbucks, say, oh, you do? Okay. So we'll see, but we have that. And then of course, hopefully others looking at us, but it's been very good. They expect to do 2 to 3 million. I mean, it's going to depend. And that's, to me, in my calculation, 1%, that's 20 to 30,000 of sales tax that we never had before. It goes right to the bottom line to pay for stuff. So my banking days haven't totally left me. So that was a good deal. Speaking of Rick and his wife, Nitu, who is more responsive than Rick, if you happen to see Rick, because it just finished his term as chamber president, Bakersfield chamber president. But that is finally, there's the rough plumbing is in, and I was going to take a picture, but it's kind of ugly. And all the rains just turned that whole place into a sump. And it's right across from City Hall and right on Central Valley Highway. The old Brookside Deli, those of you that know Shafter. So Rick's got that whole property. We sold it to him. It's roughly 9 acres that runs from Central down to Laredo Highway. And his plan is to put not one, but 2 restaurants in the old Brookside with a drive-through. But the car wash is first. It's the moneymaker. It's his biggest investment. And right now the pipes are sticking up and he's working on that, but it looks like the rains are fairly gone. And so he can get some stuff done out there. So I don't know. I love to see cars driving through there by Labor Day, but those of you in construction know how that rolls. So we're hopeful, but that is coming and he's working along with that. So that'll be car wash number 2. That picture is from the Taft, which is where Countryside number 1 is. But it's the first drive-through that Shafter's had. And so it'll be a big deal and it'll catch a lot of business from between Bakersfield and Wasco. So on that side, and Caltrans even was excited about it. Mark that date down. So I just, this is just brief. We're in budget time and which is always fun in government. And our public works department, who Mike James runs that. Mike could run a city if you have a city that you need running. Hate to lose him, but Mike, the way they run public works, they just handle stuff. And as far as their capital improvement projects, there's always something going on. And I just plucked a few little highlights out of his presentation the other day as we prepare to go to council. We have that aquatic center out there that has not been operational for a couple of years. And so this is ARPA money. Which is where Shafter directed a lot of their ARPA money is to infrastructure. And so that the pool should be repaired. We're thinking 2024, in government, you talk in years. So probably next year that should be done. And and reopen. And it's great for recreation, but also they have swim teams, and those are finally can be revived. New basketball courts. That's really demand for that. Over in Veterans Park, it's going in. If you've ever been to Veterans Park, it's a really cool little memorial over there by the Grow Academy that used to be Grimway. And the fitness court was put in at Mantle Park last year. It was funded by a grant. A lot of this stuff is funded by grants, which is your tax dollars at work. So it's it's more effective use. And the fitness court has been really popular. New water wells are going in, wastewater projects. I mean, there's always a cleanup going on. There's some new decorative street lights. I don't know. I don't think every corner is going to get one, but downtown, we always can use a facelift. If you've been through downtown Shafter, there's some really cute parts, but we also have a lot of vacancies. And so that causes a problem, but this will be nice and be decorative. And so again, funded from a grant. So that should help downtown look good, and just constant ongoing street repairs and upgrades. Now, Shafter, I always chuckle just a bit. Bakersfield's putting in fiber, right? Shafter has 45 miles of fiber optic cable. No fiber optic, no wonderful industrial park, basically. So it's more expensive. It's available in the Gossamer Grove residential area, and yet still people don't want to pay it. But we have it, of course, at the city, and they've had a couple of breakdowns, but nothing's faster than that. So every time our guys open up a street, they lay down conduit and put in cable for fiber optics. So that's always part of the deal. And we'll continue to expand that. And other cities are welcome to join the technical world. So that was a brainstorm of the guy that hired me, Scott Hurlbert, who's now city manager of Wasco. But he was a tech guy and at heart, and he and John Gwynn, really the architect of Shafter's success of the years gone by, they really came up with that and forged it. So fiber is big to support, but that's always part of that. So what I will never drive through a neighborhood, my own included, again, and not appreciate that the street lights are on, that potholes are fixed, that stuff gets done. Unless you see these guys, I see those guys out there actually doing real work, unlike me. They're sweating, they're grinding, they're paving, they're doing all kinds of stuff, straightening that place up and keeping Shafter safe, and you don't even notice it. And I think around our city as well. So I'll always have an appreciation of that and doing these kind of things, but there is a lot of pride with that in Shafter. In the residential area, of course, Gossamer Grove, it continues to grow at about, 150 homes a year, roughly. My building official told me, and they're going to get up to about 2,500. They're planned for 3,500, but high-speed rail. We still are acting like it's happening, and you have to, right? And so it's why you buy insurance, just in case. And so it kind of impedes on that footprint, or proposed footprint impedes upon their building plan. So they're likely going to top out. It's probably going to be a couple of years. I think we're at about 1,200 right now, homes out there. So Lennar is totally committed to it. And then parks are going in, and the residents out there seem fairly happy with how that's worked out. But there are these additional lots that are moving west. And I think I pointed these out last year. So Lennar's bought up some of these. Some of them were owned by the real estate arm of the Mormon church. Bet you didn't know that was happening out there. But nonetheless, those all the way down to not quite to the industrial park to Target, because there's about 150 acres that are grapes, and the farmers probably not going to give those up. But you see Gossamer Grove there, right on the right fringe of that photo, and then those lots are playing. There's little pockets of commercial within there too. So I'm not sure that I'll see all this in my lifetime, but it is steadily moving that way. The idea is to come that way. It's a safer route. It also is more attractive to commercial businesses to have those along 7th Standard, and for people to live, and of course down in South Shafter, in Bakersfield, they are building homes along in that area as well, on the south side of 7th Standard, right? So so as far as core housing, which is how we refer to downtown, all those are in progress. The ball fans, this will shock you, ball fans development, which we didn't ask for, but they came and we'll take that, right? Anybody who gives you something, they're right by the Omni Medical Center and right on Santa Fe and almost to Lerdo. PG&E, can I get them a big enough transformer? Shocking. And that's been delayed for months. And so I don't know when we're going to see sticks in the air. We probably would by now already, but they put in some of the infrastructure and then they had to hold off. And so that'll be 107 homes, and just adds to the credibility for Shafter that a builder like that would come. They did choose that of all the sites that they could have chose. That's what they told us. But again, delayed. And I know that's far too common a comment these days. I have friends at PG&E and I tell them the same thing. Hurry up. Let me just go back again. Raju's continues to work on that's on West Tulare. Those all have cool names like old Dodger and Yankee baseball players and old singers like Sinatra, for those of you who read the encyclopedia. That seems to move pretty slowly out there. Self-help is building about 28 homes over there by the Grow Academy going in. And then Steve Payne and his daughter Stephanie continue to build on more just east of the high school. So those developments continue to come. There's new track maps that were just refreshed and approved for extensions. And so the houses keep coming. We are dealing with the housing element and to affordable housing. Of course, it's everywhere. It's even forced into some of our commercial deals through the Surplus Land Act. I somehow became the resident expert on that in-house. I don't want to be, but anyway, housing is these are all market houses, market price, and so we've got to look at that. We have areas for affordable housing. I think it's just going to be an issue. It's an issue for everyone, and granted, it's something that we need to deal with, but the way the state handles it, quite frankly, is kind of heavy-handed. So I'm not sure that's the way to go, but that is the way it goes. We have some future shopping centers coming in. This one I was more excited about last year, but now rumor has it that Matt is selling or sold a property, and Dwayne Keithley is his agent. And you know how it is when people don't return your calls. What does that tell you? So they earn a knock on the door. I'll be going to them. So just like we used to in the old days. But that 11 acres, that's Gossamer Grove right next door to it. And there was a nice initial preliminary site plan there. Will house an anchor grocery store. Those folks out there definitely want that. And they were told by Lennar that it's coming. They just, you know how that is. They just didn't say when. So just like, I'll get to that. But that hopefully that will happen sooner than later, at least. And it was a nice layout. There'd be a C store out there. I'm always pushing for a Sully's. Again, I worked with Tim's dad, Tim Jr., or Tim Sr., when they started back at one of the many banks I was at. And so Shafter, he said, Shafter's on our list, but I don't know how far down. But that would be more attractive, I think, there than to try to get him to come to the core. And the police substation is in that mixed use property up there. So it's going to be a nice area. And then you saw it earlier in the previous slide, there's a solar farm out there. So that we're hopeful for that. I know there's building across the street, South Shafter, going in there and as it comes that way, they're going to meet there at 7 Standard. It's just a natural progression. And, but I would love to see, take that call. I would love to see, something happen there. As you know, all somebody has to do is break ground and then they go, oh, that's happening. And it's attractive. So we'll see. If it's not Matt, it'd be someone else, because that is going to be a good deal. Somebody's going to make some money there. Plus the attraction just down the street from the wonderful industrial park, where there's thousands of people working, which we're going to touch on, that those businesses could thrive. So we'll see. This one, the owners, never met the owners, but Chuck Noss is at Watson is the broker for them. And that's that nice dirt patch there. It's the skate park, the daycare, which is our Shafter, Cap K runs that gym there. And then that's Santa Fe running down the middle, almost to Lerdo Highway. That one, and then it's on the south of that. Oh, is the Ball Fans homes, and then Omni. So that shopping center is going to do good. And you all know the natural boundary aspect of real estate. Once a shopping center goes there, Apple Market, who is almost Fortino, the only game in town at the moment, is going to get competitive. So it's people want another grocery store, at least one bigger, and that's where that'll go someday. That's the when part of now and when. So we'll see. But that's they've started their preliminary drawings. Haven't seen them. We've talked about that. So any number of things in there: grocery store, sporting goods, some of the stuff that I've got my what we're after in Shafter slide. I always have that. So that'll be our closer today. Just FYI. Out at the Whip, as all the cool people say, a wonderful industrial park. So Santa Fe, as for you unindoctrinated, Santa Fe running right through there. That wee dark spot there, we own that. It's a container yard. It's current 4 acres with a modular building on it for storage, almost 200 spots. I've actually been contacted about that one. We rented it to Amazon for about a year and a half as overflow, and then they opened their property and they didn't need it anymore. So, and I should have charged them more, really, because they never flinched. When you're in negotiations, you know that. Make them squint a little bit, and then next time I will, by golly. But so we have that. But this whole thing started in 2003 with Target right down there in the corner, and you see how it's expanded. That's over 1,600 acres out there. And John Gwynn, who was the city manager, is now the executive of the real estate out. So John oversees that. John's been very gracious and helpful to me, Seniors Unite, to help us understand how some of these things go and some of the things that he originated and how that's gone. But you see, so you see the big, my clumsy little labeling of Smuckers. That's the 1 million square feet single level building. It's across from Amazon, and Amazon opened softly last October. Doing soft goods is what they process out of there. But that Smuckers is single layer. I thought, Smuckers, that's a lot of jelly. Apparently, like many companies, they have other divisions, and so I'm not sure what's going to go in there. But some of those they lease from Wonderful. Wonderful doesn't really sell out there, so they'll make millions and millions of tenant improvements and to your liking. And it's to make it simplified, it's pretty amazing what they can come up with. So, but they are set to occupy pretty soon. And then you see Wonderful next to Ross bookends the Amazon, or surrounds the Amazon sandwich. They have another large lot there that Wonderful owns next to Ross that they're marketing. And right next to them is a company called Rexco, which I was familiar from down south. And they did some developments in Corona. And I talked to the economic person there, and they've been really good business people to work with. And thus far, if you drive out, you see that the road that leads up to that's the West Beltway. Shafter held up their end as far as the Beltway. Okay. We put in the West Beltway. There's a signal there so that, because you don't want to be out in the industrial park at 3:30 and shift change on Ross when 1,500 people are driving around. It's pretty crazy. So that's another access point, but you should, in your spare time, come all the way out to Shafter, which is so far. In 15 minutes, you'd be there. Take a drive around and just go up there and just see what's going on. Some of the things that are happening, but that they've got Rexco. He's got, that's a 1 million square foot warehouse. It's still no proposed tenant. So he came up and did its spec. He obviously believes that that's going to get filled up, and certainly the demand that Wonderful is feeling is there. And so those two are they got the big old signs that you all put up, right? So those are out there as well. And I think Cushman Wakefield is pushing that. And so those should attract someone. There are about 8,000 jobs out there now, but over the next 3 to 5 years, all those places are going to be filled. Every pad you see, it is committed or it's being discussed. And when they're done, see this property on the other side? That's next. They're also looking at housing developments. And so they're very committed. You know, Stuart Resnick and his wife, Linda, have been very committed to the area, and certainly Lost Hills, Delano, McFarland, and Shafter to a degree we'd like to see more of, which we've shared, and they have reciprocated. So we think but that's happening. That's in their long range plan. But that as that is filled, that's going to double the amount of jobs out there, and those are good jobs. And so we're hopeful as that continues. That's where our industrial and logistics growth is. So we're already one of the hubs in the United States, but that's going to be even more attractive. You know, logistics and warehousing, you know, Mojave is going to get in the game, right? Barstow, where BNSF bought 4,000 acres or 400, it doesn't really matter. They bought a whole half the state, and they're going to put in their own place. So obviously this is important in transporting of goods. And while the ports have slowed down and there's not that whole supply chain mess as much anymore, moving goods is still critical. And so through this area, that's going to continue. You know, there's a FedEx hub out there if you've never been around. But if you drive around and see, we're also talking about perhaps a restaurant out there. And I think I know we've already talked about this publicly, but Chick-fil-A is going to have a food truck. And so knowing the guy, this is where knowing somebody helps. He used to be at the Condors, and hopefully we get a shot at coming out there and servicing some of those warehouses to bring food, because that is the biggest demand of every general manager that I talk to out there. Our people want to eat, and since you're fairly trapped, you're kind of stuck there. That will continue to be what Shafter is probably most known for until we get other developments. But that's a magnet, and it has really put us on the map nationally for sure. So here's some of our city-owned properties. He's back with the prison. That's market or makeover. Actually, the words I had on there, and they won't listen to this tape, was renovate or detonate. Because it's 78,000 square feet of what do we do with this? There was 500 prisoners in there, and, you know, through COVID and also the gratuitous policies of our government that allowed so many prisoners to be released, and then they backfilled from state and public prisons like ours. And so that was vacated back in end of 21. And so we went all through last year. I've taken people through tours, and it's lovely. There's 8 dorms that house 75 prisoners each, bunk beds. It wasn't individual cells, so you can't sell it as a timeshare or a hotel. We don't have the escape history, and so I don't know the attraction. It has a 1-seat barbershop. I like that. Occupancy 1, barber 1. Really? It's smaller than this podium area, but it's it could be a pickleball palace, medical mall. I've toured people through there, architects, but if many of you know Jeannie Bertolacini of Ortiz Melby, the principal there. And she said, Bob, even if you blow this up, it's a prison. It was meant to withstand, damage. And so we'll see what we do with it. We're currently analyzing the repairs on it. Yes, sir. Yeah, Brad. Moving on. So thanks for coming. I heard your phone ringing. Anyway, not needed at this time. Thank you so much. So we'll see about that one. It is, it continues to be an issue for us. So here's a piece. What we're looking at is where you see the The yellow is the part that we own. And see that water well, that water tank? You see that little hook around it? That's high-speed rail's footprint. They won't take out our water tank, of course, because it's a utility, but that's where it's going to impose on this lot, this acreage we have here. So it essentially leaves us with 6 acres, and it is zoned R2. We've been approached on a couple different things on it. And by the way, at this time, our stated policy is we're not selling these properties. We're still looking to lease, develop, maybe turn them into spec, maybe do public-private partnerships. So, I mean, we don't talk about anything, but just right now we're figuring we've got to, can we hold on to them? Can we make them revenue generating sources? For better or worse, that's where we're going at the moment. And of course, we'll always consider things as we go, what's best for the city. But that piece could house, our planning director says, a density of about 65 units. And so we've had a couple of people talk to us about that. And so we'll see. It used to be the old corp yard. And so you see those buildings there. I'm going to have to do a phase 1 on this. Who knows what's in the ground around there? And it's got some other issues as we look at it. And so that one had for quite a while. And we'll see who is interested and see what the council wants to do with it. This, again, the yellow properties are ones that this was something I was involved in when I first got there. We own the yellow pieces there. That's right frontage property right on Laredo Highway. Those 3 lots there you see below, that's the proposed sports fields. And I talked to the sports and rec department. They had they're separate from the city, and any day we could break ground. And I told them, until you break ground, I can't say a sports field's coming in there. They have a large grant to fund that and put in softball, soccer, any number of things, a gymnasium, and or whatever, and mostly youth sports, which would then become, for those of you parents that have driven your kids all over the place for tournaments and stuff, that's undoubtedly an attraction there. And when that happens, then we can begin to market those frontage properties for the hotel that we've dearly wanted for years. Hotel, RV park, urgent care for the kids that get hurt, and other food. But that is just prime to support that. Plus it would be there for others as well, right? So, but it's a little difficult. I can say, well, it's going in there really someday. That's kind of the pitch at the moment, right? It's weak. So, but that is the plan with that one, and we'll see. But those sports, Shafter is so big in sports. Fortino, you know that he's himself very involved, and so that would be baseline importance. Get the sports fields going for the kids, and keep Shafter Youth going, and then the byproduct for us is to take our properties and develop them there. We bought the whole thing and we flipped all those to the rec department. So that one, just keep that one in mind. That one coming down the road. I'm happy to talk to any hoteliers that want to get on the board first. This piece is down at next to West Tech, just seconds away from 99, right across from Minner Field. And those are 12 acres. It's got a troublesome little canal there that you'd have to cover or build a culvert or in some way deal with that. Also, our fiber center's on there, so we're going to have to change the legal description and keep that safe. But that piece is right across. There's the Minnerfield across the street. Over in the northeast corner of that intersection is the Corner Market Chevron, and they're looking at a potential truck filling station behind that. We could use some truck parking. They currently park on Walker Street across from DMV, the fastest DMV in Kern County. I didn't say fast, but it's fastest of all the DMVs, grading on the curve as you learn to do. But so we have the trucks parked there. This would be a great spot. We've looked at it for others before, so we'll see. We'll see what that turns into. These are zone business park. And which means there's a number of uses there, business park, then industrial. That one is actually business park aircraft approach height limitation. So it couldn't be more than 2 stories right there. And Business Park, of course, it's got to be more attractive in the front. So that piece, we've had some people interested in that. It would be great to have multiple tenants there. Some other commercial lots, these folks don't know I'm talking about them. Shafter Transmission and Smog is there at 877. And either side of him on 843 and 955, he's selling those. Pete Martinez is the agent on that. And there's a U-Haul in front there, but right to the east across from Beach is Tin Cup Coffee. And so I don't have a Frugati's gift card, but if you come to Shafter, I will take you to Tin Cup. That's where we hang. That's where we meet people, because Starbucks is going to get their own, but and Tin Cup, and it has the old Ford, the Ford Theater, and all our culture center there. But that also has a lot on the other side of it that is paved, that we originally tried to get a medical clinic to go to, and that backed out after COVID. So all along Laredo Highway are some prime spots. We are going to Las Vegas next month. I'm not a Vegas guy, so at the International Convention or Shopping Centers, many of you may be aware of. And so first time Shafter's ever been there, and kind of hopefully plant some seeds with some of these major retailers and look to see who might be interested in coming. Again, I don't know what to sell if I don't know what they're buying. So we're gonna do that kind of fact-finding tour and figure out who would be interested in what they coming to Shafter, what we can bring, whether it's a grocery store, whether it's any other kind of retailer, clothing, but something like that we could attract along here. That those do gauge some interest. We've had people talking to the realtor and talking to us about them as well. So, but that's mostly along Laredo Highway. And this too, the corner spot 201 is just across from La Imperial. If you've never been there, that's a great place. 269 used to be Preston Tire, and we actually had some drawings about turning that into a restaurant. And then you've got the huge parking lot next door, right? And that hasn't happened. Just as you all know, takes time. And so we'll see. But that's another attractive spot that we're just mentioning to people. We don't own it. The benefit, a business would come, be successful, jobs would be created, the residents would be happy, because we sure could use a fun place. And then, the sales tax that we would make. So my final slide for you. I have this everywhere. I have it on speed dial if you ever want me to send this, the stuff we're looking for, and just trying to plant those seeds. Again, who do you know that is connected in these ways? We talked to Salties, love to have a barbecue. Talk to Jeff, talk to Scott, his son. Again, you got to have a first conversation. It's just to understand who might be interested in coming out there. We're we have 22,000 people and growing, and probably going to be as much as 30,000 by 2030 if these houses continue. So we can support some of that. Where it goes, that's what we need to discuss. A sporting goods store, I know a lot of the kids and the parents would certainly love that part. A bowling alley with a gaming center. We talked about maybe the piece of the prison could be used for some of that, because it's got rooms, but then again, you need that long alley. And we sold the long piece to Rick for the car wash. So that's a possible attraction. The hotel, obviously mentioned that. Truck stop, grocery stores, dry cleaners, UPS store, had some conversations about that. Dry cleaning, as you know, I have 2 suits now, right? For a lot of you, I'm sure we don't dress up as much. And so, but Jeff Newman Jr. says laundry is a big deal. So we could, to attracting a commercial laundry might be interesting. And then medical services. Just had a discussion yesterday with somebody, parents of a group of autistic kids, parents with autistic kids. Like we don't have a center. I'm the only board I'm on. I've phased myself off everything but ADAKC, the Alzheimer's Disease Association of Kern County. Still connected to them. My mother-in-law had that for her last 4 years, lived with us, and I continue to support them. And we've talked about having a daycare center out there. Where do we put it? Who could have it? Who would lease it? A church, not the city, because that's always difficult. And so bringing some of those support services. We don't have an emergency room. We don't have a 24-hour clinic. We talked to some large hospitals, and the cost of bringing even a clinic is just incredible. So we have a void between Bakersfield and Delano that we'd like to fill, and the radius of customers could be pretty large. So we hope for that. And you bring that, does that make money? Not initially, but it does create an environment where you're going to have that. And I think you can't always have this discussion earlier. You can't always look at things just to make money. We need that. Let's face it. It's not a nonprofit lifestyle we all have, not intentionally anyway. But we want to bring those kinds of things to Shafter and make the community better. Keep it safe. Before I close, education. This county was going to close our library, and the citizens said no way. And so now we own it. The Library and Learning Center, in partnership with Bakersfield College, who's been great. They provide the librarian, but there's a fabric out there that I didn't really understand as well until I got there, and it'll stick with me even after I'm gone from there. My emphasis is going to be more on local businesses in the coming months to try to, they're committed to, we need to take care of them and make connections. And now all the bankers that are my buddies now, because we're not competing. So we're friends, try to attract some of that, and lenders and other people to support the residents and businesses of our city. And that's what I got for you. What questions I can answer, or thoughts, comments? Yes, Gene. No. Next. No. It's obviously it's gonna broach into the Richland School District, and at some point, and has not yet. Also, I heard obviously you start seeing this kind of growth, and then you look at the projected growth all along 7 Standard and those other lots that we pointed out. So you got to start thinking about another high school at some point. But we know that takes a long time. But schools, yeah. So no, I haven't had any discussion about that yet. I think maybe as they start to push their limit, where they decide we're going to stop building here. I don't know where that cuts off exactly, but schools, it's big concern of the parents for sure. Anybody else? Look, if you can't find me, you haven't tried. You can call City Hall. You can find me on LinkedIn. I tend to keep things visible there. I have found that I can put out something. This is substantial. This is a great leadership piece. I'm gonna post this. Then I put up the picture of the half-built Starbucks and get like 10,000 looks at it. I go, you know what? I'm just putting up pretty pictures. So we're just going to Debbie and I and Marilyn from Tri-Counties last week, people look at that stuff. So but on LinkedIn, we continue to, that's one way to get hold of me. And my cell phone is on, I think it's plastered on bathroom walls. So just not by my choice, but if you have something to talk about, please let me know. If you have an idea, if you think of something, we need to grow this city, and we need to bring some things in, and we need to find out what people are buying, and then we can figure out our strengths and match those up. We've got a great workforce, hopefully continue to train them. We've got properties. You've got the one-stop shop where if you wanted to talk to us about a project, we set up a time and you get a Zoom with me, and because my talent runs out as soon as I set up the Zoom. And then I have the planner, I have the chief engineer, I have public works, I have the building official, I have IT, I have whoever we need. And in 1 hour, we can do a nice consultation with you. And you can say, I don't think I want to do this, or not yet, or yeah, I want to work with you guys. That's been the mindset long before I got there. And we used to do it more in person. And of course, now it's just easier for all of us, right, in Zoom. But that's our attitude of how we want to work with someone. And understanding it all takes time. But again, as I said earlier, you got to have that first conversation. And that's what we want to have. I don't talked to a lot of other cities in Kern County. The chamber is going to start organizing something where there's more of a cooperative attitude. And I'm not directly on our chamber, but I support them. And I don't know how the others do it, but have probably the greatest potential of any other city in Kern County, and with a better mindset of doing that. So hopefully we can move forward with our stability and with the idea that, can we do more business here, and can we help you? If we're going to bring something to Shafter, it's got to be profitable for whoever comes. It's got to be mutually beneficial. Like if you want to open a store, we want to feel like it's going to work for you. I can help in a lot of those conversations just from my banking background. I turned down more loans than I made, so I know what will crater a business. And while you may not want to hear it, you've got to address that and work with it. So we're always happy to have those conversations. I appreciate folks like Brian's called me. He's had ideas, and again, worked with his mom. But just that kind of call, like, hey, do you have a spot for this, or would you consider that? And I love those conversations. So, but I appreciate you always bringing me back. I appreciate your support of Shafter. Karen, thanks for inviting me. Barbara and mortgage folks, I knew Mark way back when. Thanks for supporting us and having me here. And I wish you guys all the success the rest of this year. Thanks.
All right. So that is going to be our meeting for today. Again, if you have anything else as far as topics, please do let us know. One last thank you to Bob. I think check the bathrooms for his phone number. I don't know. But no, really, stop by, see him. There's a lot. There you go. We got to get that on your shirt too, by the way. But yeah, no, really, there is a lot going on out in Shafter. If you haven't seen it, it is very nice. So thank you for coming, and we'll see you at the next one.